Hey, hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to English Listen Easy. I am Emma.
And I am Jack. Hi, everyone. Really happy you are here with us today.
Jack, can I ask you something before we start?
Sure, go ahead.
Did you actually sleep last night? Because you look a little tired.
Wow. Good morning to you too, Emma.
I am just saying, you have that look.
I had 2 cups of coffee this morning and I still feel like a zombie. So, yes, you are right. I did not sleep well.
What happened?
I watched one more episode of a show, and then one more, and then one more.
Jack, how many episodes?
4. I watched 4 episodes at midnight.
Okay, so what was the show?
It was a crime show, and every episode ends with a big question, so you just have to watch the next one.
And the next one, and the next one.
And before I knew it, it was 3 in the morning and I had work at 8.
That is a terrible decision, Jack.
The worst decision, and yet completely worth it. The show is really good.
Okay, well, welcome to the show, everyone. Jack is running on coffee and bad decisions today.
That is actually a great description of my life in general.
Okay, so today's topic, and this one came from a message we got from a listener last week.
Oh yeah, I loved that message.
She said, I know a lot of English. I studied for 3 years, but every time I try to speak, I just freeze, and I feel so stupid. Is this normal?
And when I read that, I thought, oh, yes, that is 100% normal.
Same. I wanted to write back and say, yes, this is completely normal. This happens to almost everyone.
Because it happened to us too, many times.
So, Jack, honestly, have you ever felt that freezing feeling?
Are you kidding me? Yes, many times. Do you want to hear a story?
I really do.
Okay, so a few years ago I was traveling and I needed to make a phone call to a restaurant, just a simple reservation, table for 2 people.
That sounds easy enough.
It should have been easy. I practiced what I was going to say, I wrote it down on a piece of paper, I read it out loud 3 times before I called.
You wrote it down?
I wrote every word like a script because I was so scared of making a mistake on the phone.
Okay, and then?
I called, and the first part went fine. I said, "Hi, I would like to make a reservation for 2 people." And she said, "Great, what time?" And I said, 7 o'clock. And she said, "Okay, and would you like to?" And then she said something I did not catch.
Oh no.
I said, "Sorry?" And she repeated it. I still did not understand. Said sorry again.
And again?
She said it a 3rd time, and I was so embarrassed that I just said yes.
You said yes to something you didn't even understand?
I had absolutely no idea what I agreed to, but I said yes and hoped for the best.
And what happened?
We sat outside, in the cold, at a table right next to the trash cans.
No, Jack.
I think she asked inside or outside, and I said yes, so outside next to the trash it was.
That is so painful. What did your friend say?
He kept asking, "Why are we sitting here? Is this the only table?" And I said, "I think this is just where they put us."
You let him think the restaurant just chose that table for no reason?
For 2 years, I let him think that. I didn't tell him what really happened until last year.
2 years next to the trash cans?
2 very cold and embarrassing years, yes.
What did he say when you finally told him?
He laughed for about 5 minutes, and now every time we go to a restaurant, he asks inside or outside, and then starts laughing.
That is going to follow you forever.
Forever, yes.
Okay, I have one too, and mine is maybe even worse.
Better than trash cans? I'm listening.
So I was 19, traveling with a friend. We were checking into a hotel, and the woman at the front desk spoke English.
Okay.
And my friend looked at me and said, Emma, you speak English, you talk to her.
And you froze.
Completely froze. I knew the words. I had studied English for years at that point, but my mouth just didn't open.
What were you thinking in that moment?
I was thinking, what if I say something wrong? What if she doesn't understand me? What if I forget a word right in the middle of the sentence?
So many thoughts at the same time.
Too many. And while all those thoughts were going around in my head, I just looked away.
What did you do?
I pretended I couldn't hear her.
You pretended you couldn't hear her?
I looked away and started reading a sign on the wall, a sign that was in a language I don't even speak.
Emma, what language was it?
Polish.
You don't speak Polish.
I don't speak one single word of Polish, but I stood there staring at that sign for maybe 2 full minutes while my friend had the whole conversation without me.
And she just did it? She just talked to the woman?
She just talked to her in very simple English with mistakes, and it was completely fine. The woman understood everything. She gave us our room key, and I just stood there next to my Polish sign feeling terrible about myself.
Did your friend say anything to you after?
She looked at me and said, "Were you just reading that sign?" And I said, "Yes, I was just reading it." And she said, "Emma, that sign is in Polish."
I love that story so much.
I'm not proud of it, but that was me at 19, completely frozen next to a Polish sign I couldn't read.
And the sad part is, your friend did it, with mistakes, and it was fine.
That's exactly the sad part. She wasn't better at English than me, she was just less scared.
You know what's interesting about both of those stories?
What?
Nothing actually bad happened. I had a cold dinner. You stood next to a sign. That was it.
Right. The fear was so much bigger than the actual problem.
And what I mean is, in that moment, it feels like the whole world is watching, like everyone will notice every single mistake.
But they're not watching. The woman at the hotel just wanted our room number. She didn't care about my grammar.
And the woman on the phone just wanted to know, inside or outside. She wasn't grading my English.
Most people just want to understand what you need and then move on with their day.
They're thinking about their own lunch, not about your prepositions.
Exactly. Nobody goes home and says, "Oh, I heard someone use the wrong verb today. What a terrible day."
Nobody, ever.
And listeners, we talked in a previous episode about being scared to make mistakes and how that stops people from learning. And this is the same feeling, but now it is in real life, in front of a real person.
Because studying at home is safe. You make a mistake in your notebook, you just erase it. Nobody sees it.
But when you are standing in front of someone, there is a face and eyes and silence, and your brain just...
Goes completely empty.
Yes. Why does that happen? You know the words, and then someone asks a simple question, and your mind is just gone.
I think it's because speaking has to happen fast. When you study, you have time. You can think. You can check your notes.
But when you speak, everything has to come out right now. No time to check, no time to think.
And your brain is just not used to that speed yet.
So it's not that you don't know the words, it's that your brain needs more practice doing it fast.
And the only way to get that practice is to actually speak.
Which is scary. So people do not do it, so they never get the practice.
And then they stay scared.
It's a circle, and the only way to break it is to just start, even when it feels scary.
Even when your voice shakes a little.
Even when you get the words wrong.
Even when you end up next to the trash cans.
Even then.
Okay, listeners, if you're enjoying this episode, please share it with a friend who's learning English or someone who's afraid to speak. Maybe this is exactly what they need today.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps us, and it means a lot to both of us.
Okay, right. So after that night, I made a rule for myself. Every day, just one thing in English with a real person. One small thing.
Like what exactly?
Like ordering a coffee, or asking what time it is, or just saying, "Have a nice day" to someone at a store.
Really small things.
The first day, I went to a coffee shop and ordered a coffee. My voice was shaking a little, and the person just said, "That'll be $3.50. Completely normal, no drama, no problem.
And you survived.
I survived, and I walked out thinking, okay, that was fine. That was actually completely fine, and I felt so good about it.
Because you did it.
Because I did it. And the next day, a little easier. And the day after, a little easier again. Not because my English got better, but because I got used to the feeling.
That's the difference. You did not study more, you just did it more.
Exactly. The speaking is the practice. You can't get ready for it by not doing it.
I have one more story, a short one.
Go ahead.
A few months after the hotel thing, I was in a coffee shop trying to order in English, and I got the words completely wrong. I said something like, "I want one coffee medium, the milk please, hot."
That is not a sentence, Emma.
It was not a sentence. It was just random words in a random order. But the guy behind the counter looked at me and said, "So, a medium latte?"
He just figured it out.
He figured it out from my mess of words, and he smiled like it was no big deal at all. And I thought, oh, even when I get it completely wrong, people still try to help.
Most people do. Most people just want to give you your coffee and move on.
And that one small moment changed things for me. Because before that, I thought if I make a mistake, everything will fall apart. The person will look at me strangely. I will feel terrible. But it didn't fall apart at all.
He just helped you.
He just helped me, and I got my coffee. And it was a really good coffee.
At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Okay, today we told you about a cold dinner next to some trash cans,
Because someone said yes to something he did not understand.
a Polish sign that Emma studied very carefully,
For 2 full minutes.
and a medium latte that came from words that weren't even a sentence.
And all of those moments were okay. Nobody laughed at us. Nobody walked away. We survived every single one.
And we're both still here, still talking, still learning.
Still a little scared sometimes, to be honest.
Still a little scared, but doing it anyway.
Okay, one tip before we go. Jack, tell them about your one thing a day idea, because I think it's really good.
Yes, so listeners, here's something simple you can try. Pick one small moment every day where you use English with a real person. Just one. It can be really tiny. Ask someone a question. Say thank you in English. Order something. Whatever feels possible for you today.
Not a big conversation, not a perfect sentence, just one small moment.
And do it again the next day, and the day after that. And after a while, your heart stops beating so fast, and it starts to feel normal.
Because it becomes normal. You just need time to feel that way.
And the first time will be scary. That's okay. Do it scared.
Do it scared. I love that.
All right, listeners, we have one question for you before we go.
When was the last time you felt scared to speak English? What happened?
Write it in the comments. We want to hear your story.
And remember, every person in the comments felt the same way. You're not alone in this, not even close.
Take care, everybody. See you in the next episode.
Bye! You're braver than you think.